Our culture war has been raging for nearly a decade, and the tides of conflict are changing the nature of the fight. Through the widespread rioting around the world, and especially the United States, regular people are beginning to see how destructive and poisonous the collectivist ideologues can be. Couched in claims of aiding the oppressed and/or people of color, normal people are witnessing groups such as Antifa burning down churches, attacking government buildings, brutalizing random innocent people, and burning down and looting businesses, many owned by black people. On top of these things, normal people who are just trying to get on with their day are being ideologically assaulted and manipulated into doing ideological pseudo-religious work on behalf of these collectivist activists. The price for submitting to these activist demands are akin to selling one's soul. The alternative puts your health, safety, and security at risk. Jobs, positions, and even family and friends are summarily lost forever at the snap of a neo-Stalinist witch trial, where no defense is permitted. According to some activist academics such as Robin DiAngelo, even your denial is evidence of your guilt, manifesting a tyranny so subversive one might say it came up from the depths of hell, because only someone under demonic possession could even suggest such a thing. Yet this is where we find ourselves, in the midst of the struggle for decency, respect, and liberty. The darkest part of the conflict comes just before it turns, and currently we are in the midst of the darkness, though many are becoming paradoxically enlightened to the current cultural conflict. The collectivist ideologues have seemed to have sensed a moment to take a push. They have been testing the waters, dipping a toe in here or there through experiments such as the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, or CHAZ for short. Antifa organizations have been caught black-clad with full face coverings, smashing out windows and encouraging looting. Many communities in the midst of these activists have openly called them on it. Random pallets of bricks left in indiscreet locations in the middle of riot areas have been found, and many in these communities have pointed out this abnormality. The conflict is expanding. More autonomous zones pop up every so often, including one in New York City and another in Philadelphia. It is often complete chaos on many streets of the free world, largely chaos with no purpose, and we need an antidote. We, on the side of personal responsibility and liberty, could really use a leader to bring us back into a place that values the individual in the struggle against nature and suffering. We need more of the antidote that Professor Jordan Peterson has been offering. We need his leadership to fight the resentful Marxist hordes. Normalcy itself is being pathologized, while former pathologies are being normalized. This is incredibly damaging to society. The idea that we can just alter our deeply rooted conceptions of reality on a whim or at will should be considered extremely offensive, as if our perceptions are just flimsy notions without basis, as if our nature was infinitely malleable. Postmodernist activists do think this is possible because they don't think that we have nature at all, or at least very little. Jordan Peterson has repeatedly shown that he is reasonable and credible. He is well-spoken and knowledgeable on all relevant cultural issues. He performs well under pressure, especially when it really counts. He has his best moments at times with the highest chance of risk and reward, coming out victorious each time. He is a great unifier, despite being touted by Marxist activists as controversial or divisive. He absolutely slams his opponent's tactics of division and is able to unite unlikely allies, including both theists and atheists, by engaging in meaningful dialogue that challenges patterns of thinking which lead to resentful dialogue, and in its place presents a unifying narrative for society. For what is society without a unifying story? And how better to destroy it than by purposefully deconstructing the narrative glue which holds it together? The cultural war is a battle of life and preservation versus extinction. Jordan has the required credibility to get normal people engaged and active rather than remaining passive to the Marxist insurrectionist extremists waiting at the gates to doom them. Normal people will not necessarily defer to anyone if they do not possess credibility. They will instead become lost in a malaise of confusion, especially concerning complicated socio-political issues. But because Jordan is knowledgeable and well-respected by so many people, he presents a real place of referential center, with a strong gravity for audience attention. Since many people are still unaware that this cultural war is happening, the message still needs to be broadcast out into the world. Many are just going on about their day-to-day lives, not knowing that there are dishonest monsters out there trying to get them. But they aren't hiding under the beds. They're hiding in your human resource departments. They're hiding in your schools. They're hiding in your media sources. They are hiding in the minds of those they've manipulated. As more people face off with accusations of being monsters for just trying to live their best lives, More and more people will suffer the consequences of this new form of excommunication, canceling, always being done under false pretenses, permanently damaging blameless people. We need someone who speaks of the present and into the future, rather than the past. We need to move forwards, not towards collective justice for past wrongs. Such is impossible to recompense. We live now. We will live into the future. The past is gone and done, and all the people of the past, including our past selves, are dead. Peterson speaks in a generous manner, even to his opponents. To win the culture war, we will need to convince people away from the alluring resentment of identity politics, each example of which removes a spear of resentment and becomes a spear on the side of the underpinning Western value of redemption. And we know Peterson is capable of this task. Dr. Peterson, we, the free-thinking citizens of the West, need you back. Your reluctant leadership is a reason we trust you. We know you only lead reluctantly because no others were willing to put it all on the line for truth and freedom. Your credibility was forged in decades of work dedicated to human self-empowerment, self-improvement, and self-ownership. Your skill in the battle for liberty and individualism upon the open plains of socio-political conflict is indispensable for civilized people. We all know you are still recovering. We patiently await your return, but every moment is another battle with unknown future consequences that we will have to come to face eventually and pay the toll. The lines are being drawn even now. The institutions are being lost, and only through great pain will they be recovered. Inch by inch, the resentment encroaches upon us, grabbing at our throats as we gasp for fresh breaths in the struggle. We in the West have been blessed by the existence of your contemporaries. Gad Saad has been pushing back strongly in the culture war, writing his newest book, The Parasitic Mind, which engages in these issues and has popularized the idea of Munchausen's syndrome by proxy, describing much of the social justice psychological pathology as a form of collective mental illness. Carl Benjamin, also known as Sargon of Akkad, is now forming his own independent media company to challenge the mainstream media empire and stranglehold on popular narratives. V. Monroe, an independent commentator on YouTube from Romania, educated as both a physician and lawyer, dissects and warns the Westerners about the risks and dangers of socialism, just to name a few. These people are helping to hold the line while creating strategies to push back. We have been winning the arguments against the radical left, but the war for liberty and personal responsibility is not yet over. The postmodern neo-Marxists are clamoring at all the gates, calling out to know us like the mob in Sodom calling out to the angels visiting the house of Lot. We need you back to help us push through, or to at least be like the proud father watching as his son crosses the proverbial finish line. Professor Peterson, you are a captain of knowledge, a commander of reason, and a bishop of human psychology. We're waiting.